This is what is usually Ocean Boulevard at North Myrtle Beach. As you can see, it's kind of more on the ocean side as opposed to the boulevard side right now, and it is deep. This is part of the shallow part. If you go out a little bit further, it gets even deeper. Some people are trying to drive on this. I don't know if you can see all the way out there, that dark shadow under the lamppost. That's a car. It's been there for hours. You guys can look behind me. This is the scene where Brian Smith used to live. You can see it's just completely rubble. This was where his home was, but if you want to take a look, the fire affected parts outside of his home. You see his car here, the windshield is just smashed, as well as an RV on the other side. Tires are burnt out. Even the trees were destroyed. Now, this was a huge fire. Now, Bob, that's the church that's right here behind me. I don't know if you guys can actually see. Brennan referenced it earlier, but the memorial is continuing to grow. We've been out here for a few hours since the 5 o'clock and before that, and cars are stopping. People are running out just to place flowers. When we got here, it was not as many flowers out there. It's just continuing to grow, and that's kind of been the mentality of the town of Charleston today. Now, the mayor spoke to us earlier in the morning, and he said that the community needs to come together, and that's exactly what they did at a vigil at noon today. Hundreds of residents came out, a lot of them directly connected to the victims who died in the shooting. Megan, you can see this car right here behind me, this minivan where South Carolina Highway Patrol as well as other law enforcement are doing the investigation. This is the car that was hit. They tell me that 2 people were killed, both children, 12 and 13 years old, and that's coming from the coroner, Robert Edge. Now, behind this car, I don't know if you can see a little further back, is a black Mercedes. The front end of that is entirely smashed. Patsy, Rusty, right now I'm at the Charleston Maritime Center. In a few short hours at 7 o'clock, police will have a press conference here. Now, earlier in the morning, we were on Calhoun Street where the actual shooting happened. We were just a few blocks away from where that shooting happened. Now, what police are saying are 9 people were killed at a Bible study. Emmanuel AME Church. The only person that they've released the identity of is the pastor, South Carolina Senator Clemente Pinckney. Again, 9 people were killed. Right now, Charleston police say they are looking for a white 21-year-old male. He is still on the loose in Charleston. Now, earlier in the evening, the mayor said this is just something that in this city is hard to understand.
People in prayer on a Wednesday evening, a ritual, coming together, praying and worshiping God, to have a awful person come in and shoot them is inexplicable.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the shooter is still on the loose here in Charleston. We're here at the Charleston Maritime Center. Again, police will be here in a few short hours, actually less than that now at this point, giving any updates on the shooting. You can count on updates from News 13 live here in Charleston. I'm AJ Janovel for News 13, guys. I'm standing right here on Waccamaw Lake Drive, just a few feet from Highway 501, and today the name Waccamaw Lake Drive has probably never been more appropriate. Now, even though it's right off of Highway 501, it is a back road. Probably not a lot of people on the Grand Strand know about this road, and probably even less that make their way to the beach during the summer months have even thought about this road. But for a lot of people, like maybe those 2 that you can see right there behind me, this is their home. Probably one of the only days where people were going under the speed limit. Against the current, you'd be lucky to get a few miles per hour on your boat. For some, they were just seeing what the water did to their homes. Others had a lot more to worry about.
Important photographs, clothes, papers, some food so that the meat won't rot.
And of course, you got this right here, right?
Yes, and a flat screen TV.
Winona Ray says her house is already flooded, and when high tide hits, she expects everything to be gone. She means everything.
How do you guys make do? Do you have insurance for something like this?
No, I rent. I rent, so, and I don't have homeowners insurance, renter's insurance.
So Ray's life is now what she could fit in the boat and the back of her car. Some of the people only needed a boat to get what's most important back to dry land, and others didn't even have a boat. You guys look straight out of an apocalypse movie right now with the...
That's what I was telling her the walk. I was like, it's from like The Walking Dead. Yeah.
Something like that. You got the Jesse Avery doesn't even live on the street. Instead, he was out helping a friend.
It's about 8 inches from the river cresting over their back porch, but it's already seeping in the side of their house.
While some are more than generous to help out a friend in need, Avery tells me he knows not everyone is the same.
Hopefully, the looters stay away. That's the other worry.
Something you're concerned about, really?
That's from what I've heard from, from them that in the past people come up and down on their boats and they'll break into houses. So.
And these are just a few stories over a few hours. Dozens of people made their way up and down the street, any way they could to try and save whatever pieces of their lives they could carry. 27th Avenue South in North Myrtle Beach was packed, where more than 100 people gathered to honor Malaya. Even though the gathering was under sad circumstances, the family tells me the day was a happy one. From land, sea, and even air, the memory of Malaya Hyman lived on as more than 100 people joined Malaya's father, Misha, sitting right here in front of a picture of his daughter for one last paddle out in her honor.
Like a country bumpkin like me can get out there.
For his first time on a surfboard, Don Benson held his own. Benson came all the way from Colorado to celebrate the life of Malaya, his goddaughter.
That was probably the nicest send-off for a loving soul like her that could happen.
Soul of our beautiful Malaya.
After a brief ceremony on the beach, surfers grabbed a flower and hit the water. Dozens circled past the breakers to say one last goodbye to Malaya. A unique goodbye, but family says if you know her father, Misha, it was the only way to start the healing process.
Peaceful feeling for my brother is to be at the ocean, to be surfing, to be surrounded by water and the waves.
Kira Connie and her sister next to her, Sarah Nelson, grew up on this beach with their brother Misha. The two sisters live in different parts of the country now, but say they feel grateful to know so many people support their brother.
We're a close-knit community, and I think even though we've moved away and lots of folks have, when something like this happens, it's just been so amazing to see everybody come together and share the love.
Family and friends got back to the beach the only right way to do so, by riding the waves in. Misha's sisters tell me Malaya was always right by her father's side, and the family may never fully heal, but Sunday's paddle out is the best way to start.
A huge part of our life is now missing, but I feel like Misha will always be able to come out here and go surf and have a part of her.
Remember this and remember everyone that came out today.
The family tells me flowers and other amenities of the event were donated. Malaya's viewing was this evening, and her funeral is tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the McMillan Small Funeral Home on 67th Avenue North in Myrtle Beach. Reporting in the studio, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13. When I first spoke to 87-year-old Jack Platt a few months ago, he said he felt disrespected by the city of Myrtle Beach for taking away the opportunity to celebrate his family and friends on Memorial Day. Now that the march will happen, he tells me he's connected with many veterans right here in the community.
Whether we're going to be arrested or not, we're going to walk with you.
3 months ago, I spoke to Jack Platt about his Memorial Day weekend plans. Back in February, he said he would walk down Ocean Boulevard by himself. Now, he knows he will have some company.
From various veterans, I got calls from over a dozen, 2 dozen veterans. I started writing down their names. I couldn't remember them all.
One group he tells me he definitely remembers is the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association.
There was a veteran that said he was going to march down Ocean Boulevard by himself if need be, and we weren't going to let our brother stand by himself.
The group said after they saw our first story on Platt, they contacted him. Myrtle Beach spokesperson Mark Crua says the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association was the group the city worked the closest with to organize the march.
I feel good. You know why I feel good? Because I think the city of Myrtle Beach has realized that it is correct to do this. And I think that it has brought a lot of us together.
The city originally said any event that would affect traffic flow during the busy Memorial Day weekend was not likely. Now, it will provide busing for the veterans and police for the march. 3 months ago, Platt was prepared to walk by himself. Now, he will be the Grand Marshal.
I'm going to try like the devil to walk the 9 or 10 blocks. I've been riding my bicycle, trying to strengthen my legs. I am determined that I'm going to walk carrying the American flag for my family and for every other veteran that is living and has passed away.
The city originally rescheduled the Memorial Day Parade after requests from the local Vietnam Veterans chapter to honor the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. The city also previously said it feels it does not have the proper resources to handle both the Memorial Day weekend festivities and Bike Fest. The new march will happen Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th at 9 a.m., followed by a ceremony. For more information, look for my story at WBTW.com. Live here in the studio, I'm AJ Janavel for News 13. Law enforcement tell me after every effort has been exhausted, a warrant is filed away and considered unable to locate. In a lot of cases, deputies know exactly where the wanted person is and are unable to make an arrest due to legal restrictions. And that person gets off scot-free. Over the last several months, I've found out why so many people wanted for crimes here in Horry County are still on the loose.
Try to attempt to locate some of these people that have warrants on them. Whether it be successful or not is a different story.
Right now, Deputy Chris Palmer has 65 active warrants he's pursuing. That number is always changing.
I've gained, I think, about 20 yesterday.
Palmer will go door to door throughout the county looking for people who are wanted.
It's a hit and miss. I've had days where I served up to 10. Some days back I served but 1 or 2.
A lot of criminals know how to avoid the police when they're wanted.
Hopefully they'll slip and we'll be there to catch them.
Deputies have resources and tools to locate these criminals, but there are only so many times they can visit someone's home or job. And after a while, the warrants that aren't found will be sent here. Stacked by the thousands are warrants that have been labeled unable to locate.
You hear UTL, unable to locate. That doesn't mean that warrant's going away. I mean, it's still active and it's going to remain active until it's cleared.
The Sheriff's Department tells us at the most recent count, there were 16,248 active warrants filed away. Who are these people and what are their crimes? I requested several times a list of all active warrants, including UTLs from the Sheriff's Department. However, they told me my request was impossible to fill due to privacy issues. But through the solicitor's office, I was able to obtain every single bench warrant that is currently active throughout the entire county. A bench warrant is for someone who skipped their court date, but the 22-page document from the solicitor's office also included the original crimes they were wanted for. There were more than 1,000 crimes listed. Most are misdemeanors, but some are felonies like assault, robbery, arson, and even attempted murder.
We feel bad for these individuals that go years without having justice for the warrant that's out there, you know, in their name.
So what is stopping law enforcement from making arrests when they know exactly where the offenders are? A lot of times, it's the cost.
It's simply not economically feasible for the county to be able to extradite 16,000 people.
It's not law enforcement that makes the decision.
It all boils down to, will the solicitor approve us to go across state lines to get them if they get stopped?
So I sat down with Horry County Solicitor Jimmy Richardson and asked, when is the county willing to go after these people who commit crimes here and escape justice simply by driving a few hundred miles away?
There's really no perfect system.
Richardson says each warrant is taken on a case-by-case basis. He says the county will not invest money into extradition when it costs more to taxpayers than the actual crime.
Of course, if they found someone wanted for kidnapping or murder or rape or anything really bad, we would extradite from anywhere in the nation.
And they've done so in the past. In 2009, Bruce Olin Underwood was charged with murder. He then fled the state. Horry County spent more than $2,000 to extradite Underwood back to the county. He was sentenced to 22 years without parole. Even with the amount of warrants the Sheriff's Department is able to bring in, the total number is hard to bring down.
We're getting 30, 40, 50, 60 warrants a day. The deputies have served a lot of warrants in the past few years. So, you know, we know they're out here working hard.
Back in service code in.
And for deputies on the street like Palmer, they keep at it, regardless of how many warrants are active.
I'll end up getting some of them, but which ones is hard to say.
And some of the warrants that have been labeled UTL date back decades. Sergeant Benton tells me the department was able to remove more than 2,100 warrants from the filing room because of this. He says once a warrant hits 10 years, it is sent back to the magistrate's office. In 2014, nearly 400 warrants were removed because of the fact that they were 10 years older. He says in some cases, the people on these warrants are not even still alive. The most recent count of warrants served here in Horry County for the month of January is 395. Live here in the studio, I'm AJ Janovel for News 13.